When historians think of a Greek Odyssey, they may think of Homer's epic poem, the Odyssey. In 2018, gamers may think of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So where do they intersect? How inspired by Homer's epic is Assassin's Creed Odyssey? We'll take a look at both of these creative works and wonder what a game based on Homer's epic poem would actually look like. This video will discuss character and story spoilers of both, so viewer beware.
Set the sails!
Now, to be clear, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was never meant to be a game based on Homer, but Ubisoft would be crazy to assume that people wouldn't draw comparisons between the two. There are a few nods to the poem fairly early in the game, and as a fan of the epic poem, I appreciated the things that others may not have caught. The first allusion to the epic is a character named Elpenor. Elpenor, in the epic, is a member of Odysseus' crew that was killed by rolling off of Circe's palace roof after a night of drinking. Odysseus realizes that he left Elpenor behind when he sees him as a shade in Hades, as well as his mother, meaning that they didn't receive proper burial. Elpenor in Assassin's Creed sends you to Ithaca, Odysseus' home island. The main character even comments about upsetting Poseidon before embarking from Kephallonia, alluding to Odysseus showing pride about his Trojan horse and how he didn't need the gods' interference.
Do you see, you gods of sea and sky? I conquered Troy! Me, Odysseus, a mortal man of flesh and blood and bone and mind! I do not need you now. I can do anything.
Ithaca in Assassin's Creed is more like a neighborhood than a kingdom, though. It's a far cry from the island that was inhabited by noble families vying for the title of king in Odysseus' absence. Odysseus' palace is now in ruins, and you even meet a young girl on the island who was captured by bandits. She went there to walk in Odysseus' shoes and forge a legacy of her own, meaning the characters of Assassin's Creed Odyssey are well aware of the poem, and that speaks volumes to the writers of Assassin's Creed. They could have easily avoided mentioning the epic and focused on their own story, but instead chose to pay homage in a few little ways. Elpenor does become a large character in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, becoming the introduction to the cult of Cosmos, the overreaching leaders of the world working to control everything. Elpenor in the epic poem reinforces the importance of a proper burial in Greece in this period of history, as well as Phoebe, who we'll discuss later. As far as mythical creatures go, there are a few similarities. Homer's epic features mythical beasts such as a Cyclops named Polyphemus.
I am the youngest Polyphemus. What did you dream?
Scylla, the six-headed monster dwelling within the rocks. Charybdis, the whirlpool.
You will reach the straits of Scylla and Charybdis.
Sirens, and even animals that were once men.
Look at me, you idiot! Come closer!
Assassin's Creed features 5 mythical creatures: the Sphinx, the Minotaur, Medusa, and 2 different Cyclopes. While Odysseus didn't go toe-to-toe with the creatures in his story, he mainly avoided them to keep his crew alive. Mostly, he did have to face them. The Misthios in Assassin's Creed has the opportunity to kill them for loot and experience points, but can leave them alone and still complete the main quest. In order to close the gates of Atlantis, however, all of them needed to be defeated at the behest of the main character's father, Herodotus. The Cyclops is the biggest link of mythical creature between the two works. Assassin's Creed features Cyclops that do not speak and are bound and determined to kill the player no matter what. Polyphemus, in the Odyssey, kept Odysseus and his crew confined, seeing them as both intruders and side dishes at dinner.
Men do not eat one another.
Cyclops do.
Another nice nod is Odysseus' creation, the Trojan Horse. In the poem, the Greeks hid inside so they could safely infiltrate the walls of Troy. Assassin's Creed shows the horse but it was built after a night of drinking with Spartan soldiers. There's no interaction with the horse, but it is comical to see the characters wonder what happened the night before that would require them to build such a large wooden horse. With all these pieces in mind, we can pose the question, does Assassin's Creed fit into the mold of an epic? That is Assassin's Creed Odyssey actually an epic poem?
No!
Now hold on, Odysseus, let me present my case here. The first requirement of an epic poem is by definition a poem presented in an elevated or formal style. While it is just a video game, a person who knew the story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey could present it in this way. You just pass up all the grindy bits and all the monetized editions because honestly, who likes those?
Nobody. Nobody.
The next essential part of an epic is the main character being an epic hero with either superhuman strength, craftiness, or confidence. And the Misthios certainly possesses the confidence. They're a paid blade who routinely states that they are scared of nothing and can back up their claims with combat techniques outside the realm of possibility. They are also helped or hindered by interfering gods. With the new 1.07 patch, the player is given a quest called Divine Intervention. The Misthios proceeds to do tasks for a mysterious woman, wanting to know the player's opinion on which god is stronger between Poseidon and Apollo. The epic poem places a great emphasis on Poseidon, obviously being the main antagonist to Odysseus. This was common in literature, having gods speak to mortals in human form disguises. They could look divine and otherworldly, all the way to being beggars or even animals to see the humans as they really are. Even Penelope, Odysseus' wife, believed that the man that won her contest was a god playing tricks on her and not Odysseus. The next part of the formula is the epic plot. Now, an epic poem can feature strange creatures, divine intervention, large-scale events, and treacherous weather. Assassin's Creed does have the 4 creatures that we spoke about earlier, and divine intervention, even being the name of a quest, is shown in this case as an elderly lady with heavy allusions to Athena, Odysseus' biggest fan.
As the granddaughter of Leonidas, bearer of the bloodline, I must recognize you as Athena. This helmet you have asked me to return bears your own blessing.
The region battles may be seen as large-scale events as they turn the tide of war and places new leadership, and as well as the Plague of Athens. Treacherous weather is rare, but really sets the mood when a storm rolls in during ship combat. Epic poems feature epic settings as well, such as fantastic and exotic lands. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is mainly grounded in reality, but places like the Forge, Minotaur's Maze, and the Gates of Atlantis could qualify the setting as fantastic. Epics take place in more than one nation, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey certainly does. From Kephallonia to Sparta, Athens to Chios, the Misthios bounces all over the map. Epic poems also feature archetypes. These are things that have been in literature for as long as people have been telling stories, such as sea monsters, temptresses, buried treasure, a suitor's contest, and loyal servants. Now, Assassin's Creed doesn't have sea monsters unless you count the stupid sharks. But there are tons of buried, or in this case, hidden treasures in ruins, caves, and tombs. The Misthios is involved in several suitors' contests throughout the story, both their own and the NPCs, like the Daughters of Artemis questline could count as the Misthios' own contest to seek out the most ferocious beasts for love. Ikaros is always with the Misthios as a loyal companion and is key throughout the game. And Barnabas, the ship owner, will get your ship to you wherever you need, just as long as it's a port. The last essential piece of an epic poem is to have epic themes: courage, the fate of a nation, homecoming, beauty, loyalty, and especially life and death. And these themes are all driven hard in the story of Assassin's Creed. The courage of the Misthios is always mentioned, and when the Misthios comes home to Sparta and the mountaintop where they were thought dead, it is a powerful moment. The Misthios' beauty is discussed by NPCs, at least playing Cassandra, and loyalty is questioned as players make decisions that put them on one side of the war or the other.
Spartans have us pinned down here.
All right.
Glad to hear it. Let's send those Spartans to Hades.
Life and death is truly touched on at the very end of the game with the conversation with Socrates. Misthios and Socrates reflect on those lost throughout the game, including placing emphasis on Phoebe and her proper burial. In all, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is close to an epic poem from a literal standpoint. If there were more interaction with the gods themselves, it would cement itself much better into the mold. Games like God of War are structured much more like an epic poem, so if Assassin's Creed Odyssey steered in that direction, it could rival its namesake.
You can't do it!
So if Assassin's Creed isn't quite an epic, what would Homer's Odyssey look like as a game? It's not a story that focuses on combat, and that's where Assassin's Creed Odyssey would struggle to replicate it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is an RPG that focuses on the combat at its core. Now, Ubisoft could absolutely do it, but it would mean stripping the open world aspect out of it, in favor of telling the story for a right place at the right time. It wouldn't make much sense to see Calypso after leaving Troy, and then head to Hades and wind up on the island of the Cyclops. The game would have to feature levels, and this is where a game in the style of, say, a Telltale game would come in. Make sure it's story-driven and amazing voice work.
Why do I never get the easy jobs?
Who knows?
And unlike the Iliad that focuses on the rage of Achilles and the Trojan War, the Odyssey is about meeting, outwitting, and ultimately coming back home. Now, if Ubisoft wanted to take their assets and create a Trojan War DLC, I would be all in. Though, truth be told, it wouldn't be too engaging after the second year and no ground was made, but I digress. But in all, as a fan of the Odyssey, I was happy with the allusions to it in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I just kind of wish there was more, but that's just me wanting to play a game based on the epic poem. But tell me what you think. Would you play a game based on Homer's Odyssey? Leave a comment below. But that's going to do it for me and this episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed this style of video, let me know. I'd like to make more. But that's going to do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.
I see you're no longer with me, Athena. And it's all right.
How strange. If she could hear your words, I'm sure the goddess of justice would be amused.